what you relay in the book about the start of the war, and you argue that one of the big factors was the way we pulled out of Afghanistan, that it communicated to Russians that we didn't have the will to stay through something tough. Now, I would argue it's not just Afghanistan. I think you look what we did in Georgia. You know, we said we were going to bring him into NATO, and then we waffled on it. We waffled on Crimea. But share with us, how do you feel that these things affected
So I think
Russia?
in this context, it would be an overstatement to say Afghanistan wasn't the moment when Putin said, "Aha, I can get away with this. I'm going to invade Ukraine." It was confirmation of a view that he already had about the United States. First of all, he has contempt for the United States. I think he has contempt for Biden. I think he exhibited that. He's taunted Biden subtly. Afghanistan figures in this only in the sense that, as I write in the book, Putin and Biden meet for a summit in mid-June. I think it was June 16th in 2021. By that point, looking back, as I look back, I'm convinced that Putin had decided to invade Ukraine. He was going to accomplish his objectives for Ukraine, which were to, as he stated consistently, since the war started, denazify and demilitarize Ukraine. Why do I say that? And I lay this out in the book. What did Putin and Biden talk about most in Afghanistan? I'll tell you what they didn't talk about: Ukraine. They talked about the Arctic. They talked about Afghanistan. Biden raised our, at that point, looking for a counterterrorism base in Central Asia, because he told Putin that he was going to, as the president then put it, responsibly end our engagement in Afghanistan after 20 years. Putin then taunted Biden, subtle. Putin said, "Oh, you want to taunt it? Okay, well, we'll let you share our 201st base in Tajikistan, which is on the border with Afghanistan." Oh, okay, that sounds plausible. Except he had no intention of sharing that space. That base with the United States, how do I know that? Sitting across from me, as protocol would dictate, I was on the far end of the table. Across from me, Putin had brought with him the chief of his general staff, Colonel General Gerasimov. And I'm looking at Gerasimov. As soon as Putin said that, his eyes went, and he sat back, and I'd like, and this was unscripted, and a kind of a taunt, right? Yeah, you can share our base. Yeah, go. Yeah, don't count on it, buddy. He was very relaxed. He was cracking jokes to Putin, not necessarily to Biden, excuse me, but I was as I look back, the fact that he didn't raise in a pronounced way, there was, fleeting references to the Minsk agreements and Ukraine and settling this problem. But they discussed a lot of issues: cyber attacks in the United States, election interference, wrongfully. You go down the list. When President Biden had his press conference after the summit meeting, I think he listed 11 or 12 things that he and Putin discussed. And the second to last thing he listed was a sentence, he said it in a sentence fragment discussing Ukraine. Why is that significant? Months later, Ukraine was an existential problem for Russia. Putin was ranting that Russia needed security guarantees from the United States, from NATO, focused on Ukraine, because that was what was happening in Ukraine, sponsored, as Putin would say, by the United States and its vassals, his word, in NATO, was an existential threat to Russia. And there needed to be immediate diplomacy. Treaties needed to be drafted. He charged the MFA with doing that. There was an immediate crisis in November of 2021. What happened between June 16th and November that would have caused Putin's view to change? Nothing. He was planning to do this. My view is Afghanistan just confirmed for him that the United States is just is weak and won't oppose me in a way that will cause real damage to Russia if I do what I need to do to reestablish my vision of the Russian Empire and the Ruski Mir, the Russian world.
Yeah. I know that you haven't been back, since you flew here